Now that you have your skateboard, you have to have the gear. Skateboarding doesn't really have shoes you shouldn't skate with, but there are definitely ones you should. Not these, definitely not these. Perfect. Ideally, skate shoes should be flat soled with a tough exterior, good for flip tricks and stuff. Next is skate anatomy. It is important to learn the parts of your skateboard for when you're customizing it, something that will probably happen in the future. So the whole thing is a deck, and those 4 dots are the bolts. Flip it over and you have the trucks, bushings, kingpins, and wheels. They make your skateboard roll. It's also important to mention the nose and tail, because there's actually a difference between them. The nose is wider to give more space to land, and the tail is closer to the ground to give more pop. To tell the difference, try to read the grip tape from left to right or up to down, or use the other methods. Now on to how to hold it. You'd be surprised, there's actually a proper way to hold a skateboard, and there's 2 ways how to do it. First is when you're holding the board on your side, grip tape facing out. It is a pretty standard way of holding skateboards. The next way is grip tape facing in to your side. Another standard way how to hold the board. You've probably heard the term poser, and it's generally connected with the term mall grabbing. Mall grabbing is when you hold your board from the trucks instead of the board. But at the end, you control how you hold your board, but mall grabbing is generally frowned upon. How to stand on it. There is also a proper way to stand on a skateboard. There are 2 actually. Pushing and cruising. Cruising is when both of the feet are on the bolts. It goes there because it provides the most stability on the board. It's kind of like a neutral stance on the skateboard. Pushing stance is when you shift your front foot and point it forward. That makes it easier for pushing. Combine those 2 and keep switching, and that gives you perfect stance on a skateboard. Now that I'm on topics, I should mention the 2 stances in skateboarding. Like I mentioned, there are 2 stances, regular and goofy. Regular is when your left foot's in front, and goofy is when your right foot is in the front. Overall, it is very important to know what stance you are because it is useful when you're learning tricks. There is a way to tell what stance you are, and it is running and jumping on your board. Whatever foot lands forward depicts your stance. This is me riding goofy, and you can probably tell this is not my strongest stance. That's called switch. To keep this really simple, braking is when you drag your foot across the floor to brake. Yeah. And like that, those were some of my personal basics when learning to skateboard. Remember, skateboarding is not an overnight process that is learned at an instant. It requires devotion and motivation. These were just some of my pointers. With that being said, stay tuned for more tutorials and skateboarding content. And remember, practice makes perfect.